We'll be going through a U.S. Senate elections prediction. We'll be going through each of these key states that have yet to be called. As you can see, there's quite a number of them. So we will be starting out with just a general landscape. So Republicans start with just the safe seats characterized at 43 to Democrats 43. For Republicans to maintain control of the Senate, they would need to win at least 7 of the 14 races that have yet to be called. Democrats would need to win 8 because in a 50-50 tie, J.D. Vance would be the tie-breaking vote, which, as you can see here down there, shows that the vice president is in the red, meaning that Vance would be the tie-breaking vote, at least for the rest of the Trump administration. But we'll be going through the likely, lean, and then finally tilt states. So I will start with the likely blue. I think we just got one, that being the state of Minnesota. I think that the state will almost certainly remain in the Democratic Party's column. It's had a very long history of voting blue, and I don't think 2026 will be any different, so that's going to be the reigning there. And then New Hampshire, I'm hesitant to call in likely. I think I'll come back to that one, but there are going to be a good number of states in the Republican likely column. So we'll start out with South Carolina. Generally, South Carolina is in the safe red margin, but in really good years for Democrats, which 2026 is shaping up to be. It can narrow up to a likely margin, but I do think at the end of the day it will still end up backing a Republican, resulting in one more seat for the Republicans. And then next up, we're going to get similar state in the Southeast. We're going to go to the state of Florida. This state used to be a very competitive swing state. It was arguably the biggest swing state by electoral college vote, but it has since drifted further and further to the right. Republicans have consistently earned victories in this state on the presidential level, the Senate, the gubernatorial, and virtually all of the House races. So that is going to be why I put it in the likely red column for Florida. And then next up, we have a bit of an interesting state that is usually in the safe margin, but we have Montana. It's primarily just in the likely margin because the incumbent Republican senator is retiring, and I think that will give Democrats a slight advantage because Republicans won't have incumbency advantage, and I think that would be enough to narrow it up into the likely red margin. May even be able to go to lean. It'll depend on how good of a year it is for Democrats, but that is going to be the state of Montana. And then I think there are going to be, that might just be the last of the likely red seats. All right, next up we'll move to the lean blue. So for that one, I'm going to start out with New Hampshire, hinted at it earlier. One more seat for the Democrats, nothing too special, just one more seat for the Democrats. And then I think there are going to be a few in the lean blue margin. I'm going to go with North Carolina and Georgia. So North Carolina, that call is going to be the first flip, resulting in a pickup for Democrats from a previously held Republican seat. The Republican incumbent for this seat is retiring, so I think that will give Democrats an advantage. Democrats also have a great candidate in Roy Cooper, who was a former governor of the state. He's got broad appeal. He's had to be somewhat of a moderate in order to win as a governor in the state of North Carolina that traditionally votes red. But I think that this will be a good election for Democrats in those two states. And then Georgia is still held by a Democrat, Jon Ossoff, but I think he would be able to fend off his Republican challenger. He's got a very good fundraising game that will probably help. But that is going to be the two calls there for Georgia and North Carolina. And then I think that might just be, I'll call Maine in the lean blue margin. I think it could end up being tilt. This is Susan Collins' seat. She has had a pretty consistent history of doing well in elections, even against prominent Democrats. She's fended off a variety of challengers. So I do think it is a possibility that she could shock the nation again and result in another 6 years for the Republican. In recent years, we've seen fewer and fewer states with one senator with senators from opposing political parties, and I think that Maine's general Democratic tilt on the presidential level, I normally have it the state at large in the lean blue margin, so I think that that would be enough to result in the second flip, resulting in one more pickup for the Democrats, 48 to 46. But now we're going to get in red seats. We'll start out with the state of Texas. Going to put that into the lean margin. This state, the Democrats have a strong candidate in Tallarico. I think he will do well. I think it might even end up going into the tilt margin, but I think it will still be a Republican victory. But it is an impressive feat that Tallarico can narrow things up that considerably. And then we're going to get to Nebraska. A bit of an interesting case here. There is an independent who is running for this seat. He ran in 2024 for the other seat in Nebraska in the Senate. He, of course, fell short in 2024, but Dan Osborne is back, and he is hoping to secure the other seat in the Nebraska, well, in the Senate that Nebraska seats have, the two, and that's going to be the state of Nebraska. I think, as you can see here, we have a purple rating for independents, which is in Maine, or not Maine, Nebraska and Montana. So definitely interesting situation there. Could be a potential upset. He did significantly better than Harris in 2024. So I think in a really good year for Democrats, which, like I said, this November is shaping up to be. I think it's a possibility. He may get it to narrow. He may get by a narrower race. But I do think it will be a Republican victory. And so that is going to be the call there. Next up, we have Iowa. I'm going to call that for the Republicans. That's going to bring them to 50 seats. So that is going to be the, the state of North Carolina. Should be in the lean blue margin. But that is going to be the call there. And then lastly, we have these last few states that will really determine control of the U.S. Senate. Democrats would need to win all of the above to win the majority. Republicans would only need to win one. So I'm going to go back and forth between tilt red and tilt blue. I'm going to add the tilt rating. And then the first tilt blue state I think I'm going to call is the state of Michigan. There has been performing quite well in the polls. It'll be interesting to see if that materializes into a Republican victory. I think it will be close, but Michigan is definitely a swing state, and I think that it will be a close state, but I think at the end of the day it'll probably remain in the Democratic Party's category. So that brings 49 to 49. And then the state that I think will really seal the deal for Republicans maintaining control of the Senate is going to be the state of Ohio. Ohio, Democrats have a good candidate in this race too, Sherrod Brown. He lost his election bid for the prior election cycle in Ohio, where he held the other Senate seat in Ohio. And I think that he will be a good candidate for Democrats to put forward. But Ohio, similarly to Iowa and Florida, used to be a swing state, but has certainly gone further to the right. And I think it will be a Republican victory. Democrats do get some more good news, though, with the state of Alaska, which I am going to call for the Democrats. This is going to be an interesting race. Mary Peltola is the Democratic nominee in this. Do well enough to win the state, if I can call it, for the Democrats. There we go. Sullivan is going to be a strong challenger, but I think it will be close. But that is going to be my final call for the U.S. Senate. 50 seats for the Republicans to 50 seats for the Democrats, resulting in a Republican hold of the Senate. We can take a look up here at the betting market odds of this, and as you can see here, it is reasonably close to 50-50, but Republicans still hold the advantage. It will come down to the two states of Alaska and Ohio will determine control of the Senate, assuming everything else goes as I've predicted it. But it will be interesting to see what happens. Don't forget to like and subscribe.